Hi, welcome to What is Health? I'm Megan.
I'm Ali.
I'm Mady.
I'm Ava.
And this is What is Health. Before we get this episode started, I just want to preface that this episode may include some triggers for those listening, so just keep that in mind with this episode. This episode is dealing with mental health and mental illness. To state what mental health is, mental health encompasses of emotional, physical, psychological, and social well-being, influencing cognitive perception and behavior. It likewise determines how an individual handles stress, interpersonal relationships, and decision-making. The difference between mental health and illness is that while mental health is always there and may be a positive or negative, mental illness affects a person's ability to function over a long period of time. Some facts about mental health. 1 in 5 American adults experience a mental health issue. 1 in 6 young people experience a major depressive episode. And 1 in 20 Americans live with a serious mental illness such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or major depression like anxiety, PTSD. To kind of state, suicide also goes along with this. The suicide rate for males was established from 2000 through 2006 and had increased from 2006 through 2018. To go along, does anyone have anything they want to state about that? Or any experiences on why these numbers are so big, why 1 in 5 American adults experience, why do 1 in 6 young people experience depressive episodes, or any personal feelings toward that?
I can start off. So basically when I was growing up, I always had this neighbor. Him and I were really close growing up, especially in middle school, elementary school. And his first year of high school, he ended up committing suicide because he was bullied for being gay. And so that really impacted my mental health a lot in high school. All of us friends had to be put in group therapies and stuff together. So that really impacted on how my thought process throughout high school. So it kind of stayed with me for a while, and then this past year, my stepmom's best friend's husband, he committed suicide. He was in his early 40s, and he battled bipolar disorder. Obviously we're still grieving through that. So we've taken the time, as a family, to talk more about our mental health. So I have 2 stepsisters. One is 17 and one is 15. And the 17-year-old, she has borderline personality disorder. So that's obviously a mental illness. So she's been battling that for a while. She actually just got sent a year ago to this place. It was called White's Residential Facility because she got in trouble with the courts and stuff about how she was behaving. She wouldn't stop cutting herself and acting out. So she was sent there for 9 months. She actually just moved back in with us about 2 or 3 months ago. So she graduated from the program. She's doing a lot better. She got accepted into Ball State. She's going there this fall. But she has to be on medications every single day because if she misses something, she's a completely different person the next day. So, I have tons of people around me who suffer from mental illnesses, like Daniel's brother, which is obviously Daniel's my boyfriend. His brother's name is Jack. He's 25. He's extremely bipolar. So he freaks out all the time because he doesn't take his medication properly. So I don't know. I think especially after high school, you're kind of thrown into the adult scene. So you're oh crap, I have to start paying bills. I have to start my life. A lot of stereotypes is you have to get married, you have to start having kids immediately after. So I think that it's definitely more popular in men because men are seen as the leader of the family in a way. So a lot of that pressure's on them. So yeah, I think that the increase in men is definitely just shown throughout the years, especially with the media and everything because of how it portrays.
For sure. So you kind of talked about people you personally know who have struggles through mental health. Is there ways that your family treats them differently? Are they medicated? Do they have to do certain things to decrease the way they think or their mental well-being?
Well, Morgan's on medications. She has to take I don't exactly know what they're called, but she's like on 4 or 5 different medications to balance out her mood. So ways that like we do, like we sit down for a family dinner every night and we talk about our days and everything. And most of the time Morgan doesn't want to express how she's feeling, but like last night, she can't handle the word no. Like if she's told no, like to go hang out with her boyfriend, no to go hang out with friends, she freaks out. And so for some reason in her mind, I don't know if it's like an authority thing, but like last night when she was told no, she had an episode and she called the police, and the police came to our house last night and like sat down and talked to her. Because in her mind, she doesn't want to talk to us, but like an authority figure that deals with this every single day, kind of gets through to her more. So like they came, they were really nice and everything. They sat down and like tried explaining to all of us how we can't help her, but she has to help herself. And they gave us some tips and tricks on how to basically confront her and see how she's doing.
Anyone else have like a story that you want to share about like a family member, friend, themselves, or anything?
I don't have a story, but I just feel like with mental health and like I cannot speak. Okay, so like not too long ago, it like mental health wasn't looked at as like, it was like a thing like you didn't talk about, and it was like very it was like very taboo to talk about mental health, and it was just not what people wanted to talk about, so people didn't get the help they needed, because then if they had mentioned that they like had a problem, then people thought they were like either crazy or like they were just like, you know, not strong enough to handle their own like whatever. And now it's just becoming more normalized, and people are like talking about it more, and more people are willing to come forward about like, yes, I do have these problems that I struggle with, and it's just becoming a lot more easy to talk about it with people that you are comfortable with, or even people that you're not. Yeah.
Well, something I want to add on too is like today in class when that group was discussing the media, you know, there's 7.8 billion people in the world, and most of them are on social media. So social media impacts how we think, how, you know, how we're influenced every single day. So I feel like, you know, if mental health is not really talked about enough on social media, I feel like there needs to be ads and trigger warnings to everything, because we have the access to so many things. We can look up anything online and on the internet. So I definitely think that, especially because that's like so our generation, social media, Instagram, Facebook, whatnot, there definitely needs to be more of an impact on mental health.
For sure. And like kind of to like bounce off of what Ava was just saying, like I've never like really like struggled with like mental health or like or mental illness. Like I've had anxiety like as a kid, and like it's like gone on to my adulthood, but like it's nothing like it used to be, and it wasn't like something that I needed medication for or therapy for as a child. It was just like I was just really shy and stuff like that, and therefore it was anxiety. But when I went to Purdue last semester, like I didn't think I would feel homesick or like want to be home, and I had made a group of friends and stuff like that, but like every day like I would like decline like mentally, and I didn't know it until like I would come home, and then like I would just like cry when I was at home, because like I was home and I wanted to be at home, but like I didn't know how to talk to my parents about it. Like, oh, I can talk to my best friend and all my friends about it perfectly fine, but like the older generation, like how do I like talk about that? Like when you were saying like now it's so much easier to like with our generation, so like talking to like friends who like have experienced the same thing, or like, you know, but my parents' generation, it was like, dang, like I don't know how to talk to them and tell them how I am depressed that I'm on campus, and I just don't think that living away from home is what's best for me and like my mindset, especially through like college years, and like these are the years that are gonna, I mean, this is what I'm working for, my degree, to like become like who I am, like my career path and stuff like that. So now that like I've last semester and I'm home now, like I'm back to where I was, like my mental health is like stronger than ever, I feel like. And now that like I actually did like express my feelings to my parents, and like at first it was really hard. My mom and like my grandparents did not take it the way I thought they would. Like I thought everyone who was on my side was against me, and it sucked because I thought the world was against me at that like those like couple months, which felt like years, feeling like this, like having to stay in my dorm, like crying myself to sleep, even when I was at home. Like when I knew I was happy, it was like the people I'm staying with aren't happy for me because I should be at campus. I should be at this big D1 school getting my degree, living the life that I thought I would love for the next 4 years. So, I mean, now that, like I said, I'm home, like, my mom has, like, come around to it and stuff like that, but it's, like, I definitely feel like I, as an individual, like, advocate more for mental health than I ever have. Like, I always was something I put on the back burner, or no one really ever talked about it as a kid. I never really knew anyone who had, like, any disorders or anything like that. Like, the anxiety my mom and I have shared, but, like, it wasn't something that, like, oh, I need to see a therapist about this. I need to be medicated because it's so bad I can't wake up in the morning. It was never like that, but I think, like, I feel like kids our age who maybe feel the same way I did when I was at Purdue and stuff like that, like, just can't share how they feel. And, like, I feel like there's so many kids who are just lost and, like, not just that, but, like, just our generation, like, feeling stuck, or, like, a lot of people our age, I feel like, take gap years now. Yeah. And, like, telling your parents, hey, I just don't feel I can, and them not being accepting, like, toward that. Yeah. Like, it's like, oh, you've graduated high school, then you move on to your secondary, like, education. And so many people don't want to. Like, high school was hard for a lot of people. Like, I had a good experience, but, like, I knew people who struggled in high school. Like, bullying is such a big thing, and that's, like, goes on to mental health and stuff like that. Like, public school sucks sometimes. Yeah.
Well, another thing is, like, COVID. COVID hit me when I was a senior in high school, and, you know, we were thrown into quarantine, and we were trapped in our homes, and we didn't have any access to the outside world besides social media. And I feel like that messed with a lot of our communication skills. Like, especially, I went in scared for college, so I went to Ivy Tech. I was online. I was like, I can't imagine meeting friends. I can't imagine going to, you know, sporting events or whatever. How am I going to make friends when I have been disassociated with myself for 2.5 years?
And I think, like places like Ivy Tech or, like, a community, like, college like that, like, parents look at that, like, as a bad thing, I think.
Exactly.
Sometimes, when that can be such, like, an awesome outlet. Like, obviously you save money, like, you can live at home, your schedule isn't as insane, so you can work and stuff like that, like.
Yeah.
Oh, no, just to go off that, like, I feel like, for me, my parents are super supportive of what I do, but when I mention, like, oh, I, like, really think I want to take a gap year, they're like, no, like, that's, you're wasting your time, and I'm like, yeah, but, like, I mentally cannot go to school for 12 plus years, and, like, take all the time for school, like, I just need a break.
Yeah.
And I didn't get that break because my family was so against it, and they're like, yo, you'll just be better if you just go straight to college. But it's like, now I'm at a point where I'm like, all I want is a break. I don't care as much about school because I would rather not be in it.
Yeah.
And it's just hard. Like, if I had taken that gap year, maybe I'd be in a different, like, state of mind. But I wouldn't know that because my parents were just, like, super not supportive of that. And if I had done that, you know, I don't know. But I just feel like it's super, like, I don't know, like, not everyone's for that, but it's, like, great for your mental health, then you should take it.
Yeah, for
sure.
When
we were, like, basically, like, kicked out of our schools, I mean, I never pictured myself going back to campus or going back into a classroom in general. Like, I thought for sure that I was just going to be, you know, I was going to find a job that I didn't need a degree because I was so scared to go back. And, like, you know, even today, like, we have class at 9 a.m., so, like, me living in Fishers, it's a 40-minute drive. I wake up at 7, and, you know, there's a difference between, you know, high school getting up that early and college getting up that early because we had all those months off. Our brain takes, like, a setback, and we're like, okay, like, that's not who we are anymore. We don't have to do this. So, you know, I like taking early classes because it puts me in a better mindset for the rest of my day. But, I mean, a couple years ago when I was doing at Ivy Tech, like, I never thought I would go back. For sure. So I think that quarantine definitely messed with the younger generation, and I don't think that the older generations, like our parents, our grandparents, will ever understand how that messed us up. Like, we missed out on so much. Like, I mean, obviously, a lot of people don't think that this is a big deal, but, like, I missed out on prom. I missed out on my senior skip day. I missed out on, you know, all of our senior trips that we've been planning for months.
Graduation wasn't the same.
Yeah, I mean, we had a graduation on a football field. We had to be 20 feet apart from all of our friends and family. You know, and I grew up at Brownsburg, so we had construction all 4 years of high school. So we were, like, just counting down the days to graduation. And all I got was an elbow tap. I didn't get to, like, say hi or say goodbye to any of my teachers. I haven't been back in high school since the day that quarantine hit. So I think that the older generations will never understand how that impacted our mental health.
Yeah, and I think, like, so many people our age now, like, closure is such a big thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like, with the class of 2020 and the class of 2021, like, they did not have that at all. Like, I feel like I was fortunate being a graduate of 22 in high school that, like, everything was back to pretty much normal, and, like, I didn't have the regulations like you guys did. Like, you missed basketball season, and, like, the big things, like, a senior, a junior, like, in high school, like, the fun things in high school that make it, like, worth, going to a graduation and stuff like that. So I totally understand what you mean, like, with COVID, like, kind of just putting everything on the back burner and, like, people not thinking about, like, the kids' mental health and, like, their well-being and, like, moving forward and, like, wanting to take a gap year and stuff like that. Like, I think a gap year is, like, now becoming such a normalized thing, but it's still so hard for, like, our parent figures to, like, really understand that sometimes that can be a good thing. Like, one of my high school best friends this past year was her gap year, and I was really worried, like, for her. I was like, I just feel like if you take a gap year, you're not going to want to go to school at all. Like, you're just going to be, like, living the life where you go to work, you get to wake up late, like, and then you're just going to keep pushing off college or your secondary education back and back and back. And then, like, recently I just talked to her, and she's going to Ball State next year to be a speech therapist. She's so excited. She goes, this is, like, the best thing for my mental being. And, like, I'm like, I never even, like, thought that way for her. And, like, I, like, look back and I'm like, I feel like I judged you, and, like, I apologize. Like, I think I was, like, in, like, my old self, like, thinking, oh, you're just going to put it on the back burner. You're not going to want to go to school. Like, you're going to throw your life away because you took a gap year. And, like, looking back, it should be, like, a normalized thing. And, like, I feel like people should be okay with it. Obviously, maybe you should probably be doing something when you're off for that whole year or so. Like, a job or, like, an internship. Just filling your time. Like, not just sitting at home and watching TV or, video games or whatever the typical person our age would do. But, yeah, I think little things like that, like, really do help someone's, like, mental health. And, like, kind of going off something that, like, I looked up earlier for the podcast. So I kind of looked up ways, like, how can mental health be reduced? And a lot of it wasn't, like, medication and stuff. Like, it was stuff like exercise, like, at least 30 minutes a day, just walk, or something that will improve, like, your mental health, or go out with a friend, set goals, try relaxing, and then make sure, like, sleep is a priority, eating healthy, regular meals, staying hydrated. Which I thought that was, like, kind of interesting that, like, those were, like, the big things that popped up. Because, like, I think so many people, like, oh, if you have a mental illness, then you need medication. Yeah. Like, you need this, blah, blah, blah. And, yes, I think medication can help for certain, like, illnesses. I don't think it helps with, like maybe anxiety. I don't think it's, like, it's just varies per person, I think. But, like, there's ways where you don't have to medicate yourself, and, like, the side effects of the medication and stuff like that. And I'm not, like, anti-medicine or anything like that. It's just, like, it goes to show that, like, you don't need medicine for some of these things that you think are going to wreck a person's life.
Yeah. I mean, if you take care of your body, then it'll take care of your mindset.
Yes,
right.
for
and
sure.
I think, again, like, I don't hate the medical field. Like, obviously we need those people, but that is one thing that doctors do wrong, is pushing medication so much. Sure. And I just don't agree with that, because there are other ways to do things, and, you don't always need medication for certain things. And some of the medications, I mean, you can see the ads on TV, and they're like, oh, well, we'll fix this, but here's the list of symptoms that you may or may not. And some of the symptoms are worse than, like, the problem that the medication is fixing. And it's like, is it really worth, like, taking that medication
for sure.
to have those extra symptoms on top? Because that's not going to help you. Like, the extra symptoms are going to make it worse.
Yeah. Like, I had tons of friends who, I don't know if you guys know what this is, but if they had, like, really bad acne, they did Accutane.
Yes.
Accutane messed up all of my friends. Like, they had such bad mental health. It messed up their skin. It messed up how they felt about themselves. They got bullied because their lips were crusty, or their face was dry, or it made their acne 10 times worse than it was before, So I feel like medications, they do, like, that side effects, like, she had to be put on blood thinners because, like, it was causing blood clots, all for clear skin and to not get bullied anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and, like, with skin, it's like you can do so many other things than put chemicals on your face. Like, all of these 10-step skincare regimens are ridiculous. Use, like, a regular, basic, like, vegan soap. It doesn't even have to be vegan. Like, just most of them are nowadays.
Yeah.
It's just, like, use one basic soap. All you gotta do is wash your face with, like, one basic, simple, down-to-earth soap that's been around for a while. And they've found that drinking water can clear up acne and stuff like that.
Well, and I feel like that's, like, another main reason for our podcast, you know, because, like, we're talking about eating disorders, we're talking about mental health, we're talking about how, you know, if you eat regularly, it helps improve your body. Like, that's all anybody wants in life, is to be happy and to be, you know, content in their life. And if they take care of themselves, it'll take care of their body, their weight, their mental health, it'll take care of everything. So, you know, I think that's another thing that everybody needs to focus on. If you take better care of yourself, it'll impact you a lot down the road.
For sure.
Yeah, just going along with that is, like, when you feel good about yourself, you feel better in total. But with the acne thing, it's like, there's so many ways that people think that you need to look, like, you need to look a certain way, which also impacts your mental health, which creates, like, you know, like, if you're like, I'm not up to the beauty standard of how I look compared to other people, then it's like, well, I just feel like shit.
Yeah, well, think about what the media did when we were in quarantine. I mean, all we had was TikTok. TikTok just came out when we went into quarantine. And, you know, there were all these influencers that were popping up on our For You pages and be like, okay, this is what you have to look like. This is what you have to dress like. This is what my favorite makeup products are so you can look like me. You know, it puts this stereotype in this younger generation's heads that we have to be and look a certain way. And I think it really impacted a lot of people's mental health.
For sure.
Through social media.
Absolutely, because people are so focused on their looks nowadays. And the media has done that, because you look at magazines and they're these stunning models who have, you end up to find out, if you do the research, they've been, like, photoshopped.
Yeah.
And but you think they're these skinny, nothing, like, models, but people are like, she's beautiful. I want to look exactly like her.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, that's where we've gone wrong as a society, is making it okay for people. And I'm not just saying women, like, men too.
Yeah.
Oh,
they
for
look
sure.
at, you know, TV stars and they want to look that way too. And it's like, that's what we've done wrong, is we've made it okay for people to think that they need to look like that, because everyone has their own body, and everyone's body is shaped differently, and everyone's body needs different vitamins and mineral, like, everybody's body has different needs, and that's where, you know, we've gone wrong. I just feel like the media has definitely influenced how everybody's mental health has been, especially, like, you know, Facebook, social media has been around for, you know, 10 plus years.
Yeah.
And look at the numbers about how suicide rates have increased since social media has come around, how mental health diagnoses have increased because of social media. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, speaking of media, because we are in a media class, and we've talked about this in class, is, like, how the media, like, either glamorizes or just shows it in, like, a light way of mental health problems in TV shows, movies, stuff like that. So when you see it in a movie, you're like, oh, it's not that bad. Or in a TV show like 13 Reasons Why, when that was big, I think that one was definitely bigger in, like, showing how, like, real it is.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as, like, oh, this is just, like, a cute little thing that people have. Like, no, like, this is a serious thing that impacts things. Like, you can say one thing and it impacts somebody for the rest of their life. And I just feel like with more TV shows coming out now are better about it, but I know in, like, the 2000s, 2010, when you would watch a TV show, it would just either barely show it, not really talk about, like, how they're working to fix it, or just, like, completely just, I don't know, they just wouldn't talk about it how it should be, and I feel like that impacted people as well, seeing that in the media.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that 13 Reasons Why portrayed suicide and, you know, addiction and all. They touched on, like, a lot of the upper mental health issues. And I feel like that they portrayed it really well, and it opened a lot of people's eyes, definitely. And, you know, to bounce back on what Mady said about social media and, like, influencers, you know, they advertise that these people need to look a certain way, but really, outside of social media, they have their own problems. Most of them have eating disorders. Most of them hate themselves and hate the way that they look, but they put on this show for people online and be like, oh, well, you have to look like me because I'm an influencer, you know, and really, they're not telling us how they really are on the outside of social media, because I'm sure everybody has something like wrong. Nobody's perfect. Somebody has things, you know, that are wrong with them, and they don't talk about that enough on social media.
For sure.
They just hint towards it.
Yeah. Well, to round out the episode, I just wanted to, like, preface that, like, I think we had a really good conversation, and I feel like everyone who's listening should advocate for mental health and volunteer for a hotline or speak to local leaders about increasing access to mental health services, educate yourself, and spread helpful information about mental health. But yeah, thank you for listening to What is Health?